Welcome, Dayton. The Little Green Dress presents Traditions and Legacies, where we discuss family traditions and discover your legacy. Now, listen with me as we remember what used to be. She is your host and author, and by she, I mean me, Kim Gresham. Hello, and welcome to the Little Green Dress presents Traditions and Legacies. I am your host, Kim Gresham. Today is a great day again because I have another hitter in Dayton. Miss Rhine McClin has come into grace the Little Green Dress set and let us know all about her family traditions. Traditions, if I can get it out. Come on out.
I am doing good, and
Yes.
I'm so excited to be here with you.
I'm glad you're here. I always check out your glasses because I know that you gotta have on the best glasses. How many pair of glasses do you have? I know you have many.
I have quite a few, it's all part about doing you. And what you feel is comfortable with you. And eyeglasses, I've been wearing eyeglasses since I was a kid, and now they're so fashionable. So I've just bought all into it, and then I normally have either a hat on or my glasses. But those are the kind of things that just make me feel good about me.
I know, because when I see you, you always have on a different pair, and they are always very unique. Do you have a certain place that you get them from, or you just see what you
I get them
want?
from a lot of different places, and I go for the uniqueness in colors.
Yes.
And so the ones that I have on today, they're settledly unique, because where there's the square, there's the circle.
Right.
And where there's the circle, there's the square.
Yeah. And one side, this one over here is thicker than the other one. Now I've seen the other pair where you do have the square and the circle. You have so many. Many.
Oh, I mean, and eyeglasses are, I've always felt that a lot of people wear contacts, and I never felt that I could get my hands clean enough to put a
Something
contact in my eyes. So, and since glasses got better, people are wearing glasses now, don't even have lenses in them
Because they're fashionable.
because they're such a fashion. But I wear them because I have to, and it's become a trademark for me.
It is. Okay, so I usually ask people for you to tell them how we know each other, and we just met.
Well, we recently met, and we met at the food hall, at the West Dayton Food Hall.
Yes,
And you were with one of my sheroes, Shirelle Stroud.
My bestie.
That has young ladies aspiring greatness. And so I think that I know that you had to be one of her friends, because she's with you. And she is such an awesome person.
She is.
And the way that she promotes those young ladies aspiring greatness, that she really steps back and pushes them.
Oh, yes, she does.
And she is just a humble spirit. She's my shero.
Yeah.
And so by that, her being your bestie, I know that you all are bent of the same cloth, because most folks like to be around people that are positive and do good things.
Yes, absolutely. Now, one thing I can say about my bestie and I, we are totally different. We are two different at the ends of the spectrum, but that's like the yin and yang, and that's how we mesh and get along. So, I want you to tell me about some family traditions.
You were talking about family traditions, and coming up in my family by being as morticians.
Right.
And so holidays were very difficult, because a lot of times the family was working. And our business dealt around somebody else's sadness.
Right.
And so holidays were not really our special occasions. I mean, we embraced them, but that's not where our traditions came. After my grandfather passed, the tradition became every month a member of the family would rotate and cook dinner, and we would come together.
Okay.
And so my dad's favorite dish was red beans, And rice in the crock pot with some sausages.
Yes.
So, and it was really a good thing for a while, and that worked. But as far as us, we really never had tradition, other than trying to show each other respect.
Okay. So y'all just went, y'all nominated a person and y'all just went every month?
Every month. We rotated around.
And y'all just ate
like
dinner.
It would be my dad, then it would be my grandmother, then it would be me, be my brother, be my sister at that time. Yeah, and that lasted for a little bit, and then life happens.
Of course, life happens.
And so to have traditions, it is really different today than what it was in the older days. When growing up as a child with my grandparents, there was dinner time.
Yes.
And that was a special time, and nothing took the place of dinner time. And so those are the kind of traditions that we don't see anymore because life happens.
Right.
And
that's the reason why I started doing this, is because we've let life happen so much that we don't do those things anymore, and that we have lost the connection with our families. We should try to rekindle and redo some of those things. I met a lady when I was selling the books on the street, and I was telling her the story about my mom, getting a dress and everything. And so she told me that she had a baptismal dress that was passed down. And she said she still had the dress, but she never gave it to her daughter. It just stopped with her. So I was just like, why did you stop? And she's just like, well, life got in the way, and I just didn't think to pass it down.
One of the things that's really interesting today is that if you walk into anybody's house or apartment that's 50 years or older, you're going to see something collectible, whether it's thimbles, whether it's spoons, whether it's dowels. But the younger generation are minimalists. So they don't want all that stuff.
Right. It's like junk to them.
Yeah. And it's like, get rid of it now while you can. And so you see that intergenerational disconnect when it comes to the value of things.
Yes, that's exactly why. Because somebody, another example, a cast iron skillet. Somebody talked to me.
Which really, if you had food cooked on a cast iron skillet, ain't nothing like it.
Ain't nothing like it. And somebody said, I threw my skillet away. And I thought, why would you throw? Because that is like a heirloom, especially if it's passed down from your mom and your grandmother cooked in it and all that, whatever's on the bottom of it. That's history right there, you know. And you just threw that out. You could have kept that. I mean, I'm sure cast iron skillets stay forever.
I'm sure they are.
Yeah. So what you do now? What are you doing now?
Oh, I do a lot. One of the things that I do is I have a radio show that I do on WDL, and I've been doing that for about 10 years, and it's called Fluff and Stuff.
Okay.
And it's from 10:30 to 11, and what I talk about a lot of times is old music, and really about being a primitive modern woman. And when I say primitive modern, is that at my age, a lot of the old stuff I'm going to hold on to, like a landline as well as a cell phone.
Okay.
And so, those are the kind of things that give you your comfort. I'm just not comfortable having everything in one place.
Absolutely.
And so, the same way with banking, I still go to the bank, where a lot of folks just do it on their phone and things, but it's also the interaction of going into the bank and somebody saying, hi, how are you today? Welcome. And you don't get that nowhere else. And so you can see the difference sometimes with the socialization skills of the older people versus the younger people, because they don't interact the same way. And so that's what I talk about, being a primitive modern woman. And I also talk about music. I've been going through
What kind of music you like?
I like it all.
You like it all?
I like it all. It's going through 69 music, and we're talking about Otis Redding and Clyde McPlatter and all of these folks that a lot of these young people don't know anything about. But that was when music was really good, and I think, and because the horns. I mean, you actually had people blowing the horns. They weren't synthesized. And so we were talking about really music. So it was a band that I really liked called War. And so I'm talking to my young people that I have. I got my little mentees, and I said, anybody want to go with me to see War? They said, War, what's it good for? I said, no, you're talking about the song. I'm talking about the group that sang Slipping Into Darkness, and Cisco Kid was a friend of mine. Right. And so, and it was always a guy in there that played the harmonica, and you know, the horns, and I think that's the reason why Earth, Wind, and Fire is still such a popular group, because of the instruments, the realness of the music, as well as Lakeside. You know, and we're fortunate to have like the Lakesides, and we have the Ohio Players, and we have the Diaz Grant, Keith Harrison, and you know, we still got Shirley Murdoch here. I mean,
I want her to come so bad. Please come, Shirley.
And so you know, so we have we have such a legacy here of music. And so the new music is kind of hard for me, because I want to see you blowing that horn. You know, I can recall going to Memorial Hall, seeing James Brown, and his song Please, 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 and the guy would come out and put the cape on him, and I mean, it was just, you know, magical. That was entertainment. And so today, you know, you see performances and entertainment, but the groups like the Gladys Knight and the Pips, you know, I can remember. But you know what? We're all around the same age, because they were young when they started.
Exactly.
You know, the Diana Rosses, I mean, Little Stevie, you know, he was.
Smokey Robinson still putting out music.
I mean, so, you know, but they took care of themselves, and they still have their voices. Even, you know, the Dionne Warwicks, and they still, but they weren't doing back over flips and all that kind of. They came out and they sang,
because that's what they do.
That's what they knew how to do. They might move a little bit here or there, but
it was the voice.
It was their voice, and they preserved it, and that's what
we're missing.
And one of my guys was Jerry Butler. Oh my goodness! And you know, and then you think about the Jerry Butlers who were with the Impressions, and he was also when he Curtis Mayfield. And when you listen back to some of that old music, if you listen to it, will tell you what the sense of the community and the nation's thoughts are and where they are. And when you get back into this rap, hip-hop lasted, but the original hip-hop was good stuff.
Right.
And then when it became the gangster rap, and now we're living with a lot of that music, which has impacted our children in a way of disrespecting women, disrespecting themselves, and a whole different perspective. And that now that some of these guys who've made their money off of it are trying to turn it around and have book clubs and stuff like that, but the damage has been done.
Right. This is why, again, because the music is not the same. Everything, just like you said, is manufactured. The horns, the drums, they can make up everything in one, just sit down and do it one, and that's not what we grew up on.
No, it isn't.
We grew up on the realness, so that's why the young people are always looking at us like, why you don't like our music? And then they like the music that we like because you sampled it. You took our music and put the other stuff with it.
Yes, they have.
And you think that it's the best music because it was back then, you know, and now you don't put this other stuff onto it, and it's just not the same. They don't sing love songs anymore.
Well, our music told stories.
Right.
You know, I mean, if whatever feelings you were having, even down to a dance. So if you were doing the twist or the stroll, the cha-cha.
They had a song for it.
They had a song for it. So when that song came on, that's what you did. And so if your heart was broken, you know, He Will Break Your Heart by Jerry Butler. There was always someone singing a song, How to Succeed in Love, you know, the Shoop Shoop song, you know, all of this
can relate to your life. You can put it.
You could. And so today when I'm listening to their music, if I can understand it,
right.
number one. Number two is that, okay, well, so where are we going with this?
Right. What are you saying, actually?
What is the, and I think all of the foul language, because see, I remember when they had Wooly Bully, it was a song, and it was about Wooly Bully, and I can't recall it right quick, but that was really controversial on the radio.
For them to say that.
To say this song. And I'm listening today, everybody's you tell a kid, I'm a substitute teacher, and to tell a kid to stop cussing, well, everywhere else is cussing, whether it's at home, whether it's on the TV, whether it's on a podcast, whether it's their music. I mean, it's nothing but curse words. So so when you say don't cuss, you're like odd person out.
Right, because you feel like you're hitting a wall because they're like, this is all I know.
This is all I know, yeah.
And it's sad.
You want them to be able to express themselves in a, I would say, in a humane way.
Right.
Instead of it sounding so derogatory and gross.
Negative.
And
right.
negative.
Everything is negative now.
And so you're trying to be positive. And today I was reading a book at one of the Freedom Schools, and the book is Which Cape Shall I Wear?
Okay.
And it talks about wearing your invisible cape. And do I have my cape on of courage today, or do I have my cape of kindness?
Okay.
Okay. Am I beautiful today? And am I loved? And then it also goes about when there's those days that my cape isn't working really well. So Kim, would you share your cape with me? So I go around and ask the kids, would you share your cape with me? What would you give me today? And one of the kids said he would give me happiness.
Okay.
And one kid said he would give me advice. And another kid said he would give me courage. And then there was a kid said, you need ice cream.
Aww.
So, but the fact to get them to think about their invisible capes, and that every day when you get up, you're putting on your cape. I'm beautiful. I'm courageous.
Positive affirmations.
Yes. And that's what our children really need. Very much.
All the time. All the time. Because of all those things that you named, they're all negative. Like body shaming, bullying, all those things. I mean, the kids, the way they grow up today, it's like really scary.
Oh, I don't think I would have survived.
Scary.
I don't think I would have survived childhood in this day and time, looking at these kids, because and they're only emulating what they see and what they hear. And so you watch, I mean, down to their hair, to all the things that they have a whole nother level of stress that you and I can't even imagine.
Right. We wouldn't even think about that time. Even just the computer itself, because, we was around when there was no computer.
The Dewey Decimal System.
Right.
Yes.
We was around then, and to just see how it's all come about and how a kid can actually take their life because another kid is on the computer saying these things that they've never met, that they've never come in contact with.
The bullying, I mean, I've witnessed this, and I'm trying to, I'm like, click it off.
Right, just turn it off. But then they can't, because
that's where they are.
These children now, the babies, you give them that phone, and they're content. As soon as you take the phone or the iPad away, they go into this big old spell because
they don't know how to play. I remember I had some kids one time when I was 7, and I was going to, so I gave them the rope to jump rope. Well, they ended up tying each other up. And I was like, well, no, this is not what.
You said tying each other up. They didn't know what to do with the jump rope. Oh.
So, and I'm thinking, well, I grew up with double dutch and all this kind of stuff.
And y'all tied each other up.
And I'm like, oh, this, okay, we got to rewind here and regroup. The thing that's so amazing about substitute teaching from this perspective, I'm originally a teacher.
Okay.
And I taught back in the 70s. Okay, so there's a whole different concept there. So coming back at this stage, when I first started subbing, it was like, oh, this is, where, what? I mean, I felt like I was just walking on coals.
Right.
So, I took a break, and then I went back, and I said, the kids have not changed. I changed on how to adjust to the children and to try to meet them where they are so that we can take them to another level. Because a lot of folks don't understand that we don't know what that child has gone through just to get to that school. And you're talking about 6:30, 6:45 in the morning. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
And we don't know what that child's went through.
Right.
And so we got to take that in consideration. And we also have to recognize that 93% of all teachers in the state of Ohio are white. And so that being within, not saying that they're not good teachers, but there is a cultural disconnect at times with our babies.
Has to be.
And so, that's one of the things that keeps me going back into sub, just so that I can try to make a difference in a child's life. I call it, teachers are farmers. They really are. They're farmers. And because they spend their whole life planting seeds that they don't know, they don't know how they're going to grow or if they're going to make it, but they're constantly planting seeds. So, your ultimate farmer is your teacher. And so I think being as a sub, I see, and see, substitute, they don't understand. When they say substitute, you're still a teacher.
Right.
And so what happens there is that making that cameo appearance to a child may be just the difference of an affirmation that child needed to go forward,
to the other side,
to move forward.
That's beautiful.
So that's everybody needs to do something, and I believe that when we're talking about your space, a lot of things, people waiting on the committee. But there's certain things that you can just do within your tribe and in your space.
Just a little bit.
One of the spaces that you can take care of is the litter in front of your house. And I have to always say this. I've got tired of people importing their litter in front of my house. Now, I have no chicken fillet nowhere near where I am. So when I go to pick up that trash, okay, you went way somewhere and you wanted to honor me
with your trash.
Okay. So, but those are the kind of things, but we don't, and you hear the kids when you say, would you pick that up for me? Well, I didn't put it down there. So it's like, okay, no, you didn't put it down there. But I'm asking you to pick it up because I'm picking up this trash and I didn't put it down. So you got to kind of lead by example with showing them that you're not too big to do this.
Right, what I'm asking you to do. Right. It's a trying time for these kids, and that's really, and then especially since after COVID and they was out for so long. How was that after they came back in?
Well, they're behind.
Yeah,
they're behind, and then the state keeps interfering with putting requirements on. So if you get in a whole day, you're happy if a teacher can probably get in a good 15 or 20 minutes in a whole day because of the requirements of so many things. And then you have so many children that are who act out. And so it used to be, it was one or two, you got them shut down, class
and then
could
you
move
go
forward.
On. But now it's a lot of them.
No, now maybe more than half the class. It's but I do believe that each one of us has a responsibility and some role to try to make a difference and change this, because they didn't get that way overnight.
Absolutely.
And some of us have to take responsibility to say we helped this along, because what happened was a lot of times we gave kids things, but we didn't give them us. And so they started associating
having things
as love.
Instead of having us. That's so profound.
And so when I was growing up, because they didn't have a lot, they gave you us.
Right. And too much of them. And then you wanted not to, but now that you're older, you wish that you had them. You know what I'm saying? Because at the time you didn't want them because they was always there. We were always with our family. I was in a 2-parent home, and I was always with my parents, And so now when I see that the kids are not really, with their parents like they used to, you can just really tell, and it's kind of sad and it's disheartening sometimes. But like you said, we all have the responsibility to change it
and to do something. If it's nothing but tutoring or helping out, like with the young ladies aspiring greatness, and there's a lot. There's the Butterflies group with Gina. There's a lot of different groups around that are trying to help. Just find, if you can't help a child read.
Yes.
And reading is fundamental, and it just opens up your world. And I recall having a 5th grader say to me, I don't need to learn how to read. And I said, well, why is that? And he said, because anything I need to know is on YouTube. And I said, well, you do need your math so you can make sure that the numbers that they're giving you on YouTube check out right. And you need to be able to read because you got to have some instruction, so you need to know that. So I think it's kind of important. YouTube can be helpful, but I wouldn't totally rely on it.
And that's what those kids are doing. They're not even doing their homework anymore. All they're doing is say, hey, Siri.
And then you got TikTok and when you see these little girls doing this hoochie coochie stuff, I said, well, where did you learn how to do that? And they said, oh, TikTok. And I was like, oh, is that who? I said, okay.
TikTok, the electronics.
And they grew up with it.
Right.
And so I
grew up on hopscotch.
You see hopscotch at the school, nobody knows what that is.
When I had to draw for my own daughter, I was just like, oh my goodness, because that's what I do with my grandbabies. I try to make sure that they get those basics, and I take them around and I spend time with them, and we go to museums and we go to, trying to get their mind sparked, because I don't know what trip that's going to spark one of them, you know what I'm saying? And I just want to make sure that they are well grounded and know that I do love them, and spend a lot of time with them.
And time, affirmation of love is not only telling the person, but it's also showing the person, and it's also sharing with the person. And so that is a form of love, because one of the things I always talk about is that this plant, I may spend $500 on it, but it can't hold me, it can't talk to me, it can't touch me, and it can't give me any feedback. Right. So therefore, it's only as good as the moment that you got it. And so, but if you had to choose between a $500 plant and a $50 luncheon with folks, I would choose the $50 luncheon, because that's memories. And creating memories. And that's one of the things that we really need to start teaching our young people, the importance of creating memories.
Yeah, that's what I try. That's another thing what I try to do with my grandbabies, because I just remember growing up, you know what I'm saying? And I can go back and hear a song, and I'm put right back where I was, so when I'm taking my sugar babies on these trips, we went to the Air Force Museum, we went to
which is free.
Well, we got to do free. I got a lot of grandbabies. I got 3. So Esther Price, we did a story on Esther Price from here. I have them do a podcast themselves. We do it at my house, because I'm just trying to show them a different way, something fun, something other than Roblox or whatever they be playing all the time.
But what it is that, and you see this even when people go out to dinner, and I mean, because I am sociology, so I like to study organizations and how groupings move and things. And watching people go out to dinner, sit across from each other, and stay on their phones. And I'm like, well, y'all should have just stayed home.
Stayed home. The phone, I'm always talking about the technology because I just feel like that's what has come over and just taken over. Just everything. It's taken over everything.
Well, you think about this. When the computers first came out, they were in a whole room, big old room, and the air had to be at a certain thing, and the floor had to be up a certain level to put all these cords and stuff.
It was a big old box.
And the big old boxes, and now everything. See, there's no need to even argue with anybody because you can Google and get the question answered.
Get the answer.
Whereas now, when we were growing up, we went to the library, had to trek to the library, use that Dewey Decimal System, go find the book, and you had to read.
Encyclopedias.
Oh, well, your parents bought the encyclopedia. Now when you look at it and you think about the encyclopedia, you say, Lord, by the time the parents had paid for it, the thing was out of date.
Right, because there was so many of them. My mother had it to Z, and I use that. I use those things all the time because I'm always writing papers. I was always doing that kind of thing, and just like you said, going to the library. But you still had to do that. You had to go through there, and you had to find, and you had to. The kids now they don't know how to do that. They don't know about going in there and finding the cards and all that. They don't know that.
They don't know how to. They don't know how to do a lot of things.
Cursive writing. If we wanted to keep a secret from any child, all we had to do was write it in cursive.
Whenever I write a note and tell the child to take it,
you write it in cursive.
I write it in cursive. And they'll say, "Well, what's this?" I said, "This is a secret code." Who would have thought? Secret code. Who would have thought that we would have come to a day where a child couldn't write their name?
Right.
I tell you something else that I noticed that was really different than when I was growing up. Each one of us was drilled your name, your address, and your phone number, and who your parents were. Okay?
They don't know that now.
They don't know? No, I was trying to get a child, and the child said, "Well, the bus driver knows where I live."
Oh, that just breaks my heart.
Well, I mean, but the point is, they don't know.
Nobody's telling them.
Nobody. And the other thing that I had found out that was just little things that are so different than when I was growing up, that a lot of I take the kid by the hand and say, "We're going to just walk. I'm going to be with you." Especially if we're team teaching in a room and I'm the sub there, and somebody's acting, I said, "Let's just go for a walk." And I find out that a lot of these kids don't even know how to hold a hand because nobody holds their hand.
Wow.
Things that you take for granted. Things that you take for granted.
Don't even hold hands. Don't even know how to hold hands.
They don't know how to hold your hand.
That is profound.
And so that's why each one of us, within your own tribe, you have a responsibility to make them aware. Today, when I spoke to this, and the little girl asked me the question, and so I'm trying to. She sat down. She looking the other way, and I called her out, and I said, "Honey, if you ask me a question, I'm going to answer you. You're supposed to be there."
She was off looking around.
Yeah, she sat down.
Checked out.
But you got to use each moment
as a
teaching moment, and that each one of us, we don't have the network and the tribe that we once had. The church was a tribe, and some churches are doing it, but not as collectively as it should be done. But the point is that regardless, each one of us needs to take on some type of ownership of responsibility for those that we come in contact with to make a difference.
Absolutely. Well, all right, Ms. Ryan, let me ask you the legacy question. So if you were to leave this earth today, what legacy would you leave?
I would like to leave the legacy that I served, and that because I think one of the things that I truly learned after my father passed is that nobody ever asked what kind of suit he wore, what kind of car he drove. They didn't even ask where he really lived. But only things that they always remembered about him is what he did for them and how he touched them. And I think that is more of a legacy than any building, because a building's going to come down. But how you touch people, I think, is a legacy within itself.
Leaving positive, good things when people want to know you and be around you, and when they think of you, warmness come in their heart, a smile come on their face. That, yeah, I want that. I would like that to be my legacy as well.
That's what I would want my legacy. That they'll probably say that she was different.
Different is good.
And I was eclectic, yes. And but that the old girl really, if she could help you, she did.
She did. She did. All right. You sure helped me today. You helped me so much. I'm so glad you came to visit my set.
I am just, I didn't have a little green dress, but I had a dress with green.
I see. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that effort. You're so cute.
Oh, you just warm my heart.
I warm your heart.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming. That's going to be the end of it for right now. We're done for today, even though I could keep talking and keep talking.
Thank you for
having me. All right, sure.
Kim, thank you for having me.
Sure. Anytime. You can come back anytime. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. This has been A Little Green Dress Presents Traditions and Legacies with Miss Rhine McClin. Y'all come back to the next segment, okay? Bye-bye.